Hello friends, I am Dr. Urmi Satyan and we will study the rhyme of the ancient mariner today in this video lecture. Friends, in one of the previous videos on Biographia Literaria, we have studied that fancy, imagination, novelty and excitement are the essential tools Coleridge uses to draw the larger than life portrayals of supernatural elements. He respected Wordsworth's simple diction and realistic scenes for poetry. However, in his own poetry, he does not use the language of everyday life and wins the reader's poetic faith through the power of imagination and fancy. It would not be wrong to say that Coleridge is an experimentalist. He chooses supernatural elements and unrealistic scenes for his poetry. This was the time when Gothic romances were read with much interest. Through his conversational tone and imagery packed with ghastly, scary and mysterious scenes and incidents, Coleridge hypnotizes his readers and compels us to willingly suspend any doubt or disbelief that obstructs our delight in reading his poems that are full of wonderful novelty and euphoric excitement. In the 14th chapter of Biographia Literaria, Coleridge says that the excellence aimed at was to consist in the interest of the affections by the dramatic truth of such emotions, as would naturally accompany such situations, supposing them real. Coleridge thus makes his aim clear that his employment of characters, settings, situations and language will be convincing and credible. These four aspects, character, setting, situation and language, draw our attention to the dramatic truth in the poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. The poem concerns the mariner's confession about killing a huge bird named albatross. The mariner holds himself responsible for bringing doom to the entire crew on the ship as they all were cursed to die. Thus, the poem is a confession poem. It starts with introducing the ancient, that is, old mariner, who has a long grey beard, glittering eyes and skinny hands. This mariner tightly holds one of the wedding guest's hand and forces him to listen to his confession. The poem gives a flashback narration. The mariner tells the wedding guest about a horrible incident that took place when he was sailing southward with many other co-sailors. The description of the stormy, misty and snowy weather makes us more curious about the mariner's reasons for his agony. Coleridge's language is simple, but demands our attention to the rhythm and figures of speech employed to create a lifelike situation. Coleridge's poetic style is noticeably majestic. When he dramatically switches from simple and repetitive words to an embellished state of figurative and rhythmic expression. This normal to superlative transition whets our curiosity. Every quatrain gives a subtle expression. One of the examples can be cited from the lines when the mariner says, "The ice was here, the ice was there, the ice was all around." It cracked and growled and roared and howled like noises in a swound. The mariner tells the wedding guest about the inclement weather that made him dismal and provoked him to kill the albatross. The wind was blowing from the south, pushing the ship northward. The albatross followed the ship either for food or to play with the sailors. The weather was foggy and misty, and so irritated by the bird's chase, the ancient mariner kills it with his crossbow. Initially, the mariner's co-sailors do not approve of this killing, but later on, when the sky is clearer and brighter, the sailors say, "It was right," said they. "Such birds to slay, that bring the fog and mist." Slowly and gradually, the mistiness grew and the sea became sullen and silent. The mariner tells the wedding guest, day after day, we stuck, nor breath nor motion, as idle as a painted ship upon a painted ocean. Coleridge's art of articulation is captivating. The mariner spells a charm on the wedding guest, narrates his confession so very dramatically that the wedding guest develops a childlike curiosity and expresses his eagerness to know more about the interconnected conflict among the trio of the mariner, his co-sailors and the albatross. Like the wedding guest, the readers, that is we, are also anxious to know the threefold realism of physical, psychological and philosophical truths. The physical realism is depicted through the intrusion of the albatross and its consequent killing. The psychological realism is presented through the ancient mariner's non-inclusive approach towards an innocent bird of a predatory species, his consequent agitation and his impulsive decision to kill the bird. And lastly, the philosophical realism is reflected through the mariner's regret, his impulsiveness and his urge to confess the sin of killing an innocent bird. All throughout the poem we notice Coleridge's meditative tone, especially when he talks about his moral awareness. We also notice his inclusive approach. After he confesses to the wedding guest, he expresses his love and respect for all living beings. He says, "Farewell, farewell, but this I tell to thee, thou wedding guest, he prayeth well who loveth well, both man and bird and beast." Coleridge's poetic genius is engaging. Starting the poem with a lighter introductory note, he takes us to the extreme climate that oscillates between mist and snow under the hot and copper sky. The protagonist's marine journey is disturbed by the intrusion of an albatross. Agitated and also ignorant of his moral duty to shelter the orphan bird, the mariner kills albatross and later on realizes the deadly impact of the curse he has incurred upon himself. He says that an orphan's curse would drag to hell a spirit from on high, but oh, more horrible than that is a curse in a dead man's eye. 7 days, 7 nights, I saw that curse, and yet I could not die. Thus, Coleridge makes the readers witness the play of sin and confession. The mariner's growing consciousness of guilt presents the interplay between life in death, which is free from any moral burden, and death in life, if lived with a burden of curse. Friends, read this poem and appreciate Coleridge's idea of a supernatural elements in romantic poetry. I hope this video lecture will be helpful to you. Bye for now.